From the beautiful city of Los Angeles, California, we bring you the Gimme Three podcast. Hello and welcome, cinephiles, cinema lovers, and movie appreciators to the Gimme Three podcast, the show where we usually pick three films connected by one theme. But this month we have given you three episodes highlighting some of the amazing filmmakers from this year's Los Angeles Diversity Film Festival, which starts this week, y'all. Friday, August 22nd through Sunday, August 24th. Tickets are on sale right now at LADFF.com. We're at the Laemmle NoHo 7. And then Saturday afternoon, we got a couple of screenings at the Vidiot's Micro Cinema. But today we are talking to two filmmakers, each screening at LADFF this year. We're going to hear about their journeys to filmmaking, their approach to the art form. We'll hear about the films themselves. And of course, each filmmaker will partake in a Gimme Three segment of their own. Our first guest is Sylvia Mereu, whose short film The Vote screens Sunday, August 24th at the Laemmle NoHo 7. It is a part of the Los Angeles block, and it's an important block. An important note about this block is that this block features 5 female-driven stories, all by filmmakers who were affected by the Eaton fires in Altadena earlier this year. And a portion of the ticket sales for our Los Angeles block will be donated to the World Central Kitchen, which is just a fantastic charity. Look them up, World Central Kitchen. But for now, we're going to get into our interview with the amazing Sylvia Mereu. The Vote is screening with LADFF on Sunday, August 24th at the Laemmle in North Hollywood. It is part of our Los Angeles block. 5 female-driven short films made by filmmakers who were affected by the Altadena fires earlier this year. Tickets are on sale for that block right now at LADFF.com. Today we are joined by the writer and director of The Vote, Sylvia Mereu. Sylvia, thank you so much for being on our show.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to screen at LADFF again. It's a really wonderful place to screen.
Yeah, we're excited to have you back. It's really lovely to have you. It's lovely to end our LADFF series of our podcast with you as well, because we've been talking to so many great filmmakers who, I hadn't met or I don't know. Now get to talk with another great filmmaker that I do know and who screened with us before, and one I consider a friend. So it's nice to. I don't know if you consider me a friend, but I consider you.
Yes, definitely. So I'm very excited to be here. And then, so I'm the last one for the series
for this podcast series. Yeah, you're
last but not least.
Last but not least. Before we get into your film, Sylvia, I want to talk about a little bit about your journey through life. No, your journey to filmmaking. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you initially got into cinema.
Yeah, sure. I'm from a small town called Barstow, California. It's a small desert town where arts aren't particularly, bolstered up. It's I didn't know many artists growing up, and I didn't really know many people who went to college growing up. But I ended up, by the grace of God, I guess, by a teacher who saw something in my journals. He said that I should go in AP English. And so I ended up, even though I had a C in his class, he must have just saw that I would have thrived in a different environment.
Yeah.
Teachers are amazing. He moved me to AP English. I saw kids going to college. I was like, maybe I should do that too. At the time, which I guess this is related to The Vote as well. My dad had died by that time, and I knew I had some benefits from his VA benefits. And so I asked my auntie to help me figure that out, because my mom is from Korea. English is her second language, and she never went to college. And so she didn't know the whole United States university college system. So she helped me out. I got into one university, Cal State Fullerton. Yay.
Oh yeah, Cal
And
States represent.
yes. I don't even know their mascots anymore. But yeah, I got into university, and by the time I was there, I didn't know what I wanted to do. And so this was all in my 20s. I didn't
Mhm.
know what I wanted in life and what was meant for me. So I had a lot of fun. I had a lot of different jobs, everywhere from serving, hosting at restaurants, Boys and Girls Club, teaching swim at like Waterworks Aquatics. I had all kinds of jobs, and all while kind of being a big dreamer, just like I want to, do something awesome. And it wasn't really until I got into luxury retail and I started working on Melrose Place, where I started to meet more creatives, more people in the industry, that it took the veil off for me. And I just realized, like, oh, these are just like really regular people.
Right.
They are not special. They are not like high IQ, or there's nothing different about them to me. And so
They're low
that kind of
IQ, in fact. No, I'm just kidding.
I was like, oh, these people have issues too.
You're right.
Yeah. So it wasn't until then where I started to kind of like think about it. And then, quarter life crisis happens. My husband goes into film and I see him make the jump. And then I meet more people. And really, it wasn't until I had my first kid where, I was like, wow, I did that. Like, got pregnant, grew a baby in my belly, like,
Mm-hmm.
and he made it. And so something about that experience and then not working for the first time really empowered me to figure out what I wanted to do with my life creatively, because I always loved TV and film and storytelling and art in general and design. And it was always in me looking back as a child, but I always never amounted it to anything, never, pursued it in any way. I just thought that was like that, and I have to find a real job. And then it was until, I was empowered after having my first kid. I started to do some creative workshops, speak to people who have been working as creatives, like everywhere from dog photographers to like people who have Etsy shops, to people who are in the industry, and just kind of rewiring my brain from that like small town little girl from Barstow. And then yeah, I found a group of people who was excited to make something with me. And then I ended up in the directing chair. And that was it. That was like, oh, I freaking love this. This is
Yeah.
what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. And then so every decision since then has just been moving towards being able to direct again, honestly, because I'm so like glad that I found that, because it makes kind of everything easier. I mean, it's not easy. We all know it's not easy.
Sure, sure.
But the wondering, like, what should I do? What should I do? That I don't have that anymore. And that's also because I'm, maturing and all of that. But yeah, no, I love directing, and so here I am, 50 million short films later.
I think it's really beautiful that creating life is kind of what inspired you to take the next step in creating art. I think that's really fascinating and wonderful.
Yeah, parenthood is not for everyone, and it was really just my journey, and it was something that like fundamentally changed me.
Yeah.
And I think that having my kids ground me now, and you have to have a lot of patience in this industry, and they provide that for me. Like if jobs aren't coming around, I have my family and I have busy work doing lots of other things. So I do feel like for me, it was a nice time to find my passion.
Yeah.
And now they're part of it. Like they're in Seaweed Snacks, which is my next film that you helped AD.
Yes.
And they can see like the process, and we make little family movies like with them and their cousins. And, of course I'm responsible for that because I'm the only one who knows how to do that. And so, yeah, they're getting their little reps in too. And hopefully, I don't know, they'll find their own way, but at least they're not, at least they're being creative and not, they're having their world expanded, whereas I didn't really have that. I just was like, trying to stay out of the sun and not like die from heat stroke in Barstow.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, yeah, I got to meet them, and I got to direct your kids a little bit in the background action of a scene.
Thank goodness. If I had,
they
would
take
listen.
direction well.
They take direction well from you. Good job. Awesome.
All right, let's get into your film, The Vote. Really powerful film, really beautiful film. Tell the audience about The Vote.
Yes, so The Vote is about two adult siblings who are at odds about taking their mom off of life support. And so they end up having a family vote through their extended family, aunties, uncles, cousins, to decide whether or not to do this. And so it was inspired by a childhood memory I had when my dad was on life support. He was in a coma for several weeks, if not a month or so. And I have this crazy memory where I was just like a kid in my family. I have like a gazillion uncles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right.
and cousins in Barca. And everyone was just talking about this really, really heavy subject about my dad and, whether or not to keep him on life support or not. And now as an adult, I'm like, why was I there?
Right.
And
right.
like, what was that? And then, I don't have like a super clear, detailed memory of it. And I don't think it definitely wasn't exactly how the vote is, but like it wasn't an argument and it wasn't, it was more so everybody was in agreement. But that was the key. That was like the core memory I had to build off of. And then from there, I wanted to focus on two siblings who are just like completely different. And I'm really like, I really love observing and understanding how two people or how people could be so different from each other, but, end up having to love each other or just genuinely loving each other.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to take that memory and that subject of just people who are completely different and then blend them up into this short film. And thankfully, I wasn't really expecting to make this film, to be honest. I had just gotten off of filming my proof of concept for my feature, but I had it in my pocket because, I as a filmmaker, someone who loves directing, I consider part of my work submitting to programs, short film programs where there's money to make films because it's so hard to find that. And so I was like,
right.
I have to have something ready just in case. And so I had this in my pocket, and the Latino Film Institute asked if I wanted to submit for their fellowship, and I did. And thankfully, I got in, and through their support, I was able to make this short film.
Amazing. What was it like working with LFI and that fellowship? Talk to us a little bit about your collaboration with them.
Yeah, no, it was very lovely. It's a super structured, very detailed program. And thankfully, I've had some experience working with clients as an editor and just as a content creator or creator too, just like having odd jobs here and there where I knew like, oh, this isn't only my baby,
right.
Like I have to get notes from the executive producers who are LFI, and then it also is run through Netflix as well, because Netflix is providing the funds for LFI to do this and to have opportunities for Latinx creatives to make their stories. And so, like, I knew that going in, and I feel like I thrived in that scenario. I really like structure. I like deadlines. I like notes. And, with a grain of salt, just like making sure I have a overall picture of what I want my film to be within reason, and so, it was a wonderful experience. And also one of the big takeaways was getting to know my other fellows and watching them create and watching their films at the end of the day and building my community. And, ultimately it all feels like a little love fest where we're all just like supporting each other.
Yeah.
Because really that's all we can do in this like rocky ocean.
Yeah.
And that feels nice to like not be alone and just to have people's support and like the intention to support other people as well. Yeah, no, it was an overall wonderful experience. I'm glad I did it. I know at the time, I would say, if I could be vulnerable for a little bit, I was nervous because I had put in everything I had into my previous film.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I was nervous to just like jump right into the next one. And then I was like, well, this is what I love to do. So you better buck up, girl.
Right.
And yeah, put my bootstraps on. And I didn't, the film I did before had high stakes and trauma and like special effects and stunts and things that, you know, in terms of as a director with craft, I had a lot to work with to like get the audience riled up, you know? But with the vote, it was very different. It was working with an ensemble cast where during a conversation where you're having a family vote about someone who you love that's on life support, like we can't have them move around too much. Like everyone's like talking very intensely. The tension is thick, you know? And so I didn't really have a lot to quote unquote hide behind as like a filmmaker with the directing craft. But what I needed to lean into was my actors and making sure that I'm covering this family, multicultural family, in a way that is dynamic and creates that tension I want through the POV of my protagonist, who's played by Lisette Medina and Edgar de Santiago, who I've worked with prior, and they freaking nailed it. I mean, that was the big thing. I was like, I have to get this casting right, otherwise this movie is gonna suck.
Right.
And thank goodness it worked out. I really love my leads and my ensemble cast. They really brought it, and it's always nice to watch them do their work while watching the film and screening it.
Talk to us about your casting process and building the characters with Lisette and Edgar, because like you said, they're so terrific and they've got such a lived in brother sister dynamic. But yeah, talk to us about your casting process and kind of working with them to build these characters.
Yeah, so I worked with a casting director, Jasmine Gutierrez, who casted my previous short, and I feel like we have very similar tastes. Like we're both from Southern California, with similar Chicana backgrounds, and she's like, "Oh, I know who you're looking for."
Right.
I knew I wanted to have a multicultural family, and I knew I wanted the siblings to be predominantly English speakers, and well, that besides the point, the casting process was really like submitting tapes, going through callbacks, and I said I had worked with Edgar before in the middle, but I wanted to go through the casting process still. One, you know, you never know who's out there, and two, because I mean I trust him, but two, because working with LFI and making sure that. Well, they require to have like an approval upon your main cast, and so putting them in a callback situation, and then we did in-person chemistry reads, and through all of it was more vigorous, I would say, than most of my other short film, and I'm really glad I went through the process, and just seeing them together, you could see they have this snap about them in terms of like, you know, they look like siblings. You put them together and they start like, they're just very witty. And they're emotional wells. And I knew for the vote, like they have to go into really dark, deep places in terms of grief. And they both had it in spades. Thank goodness, because I'm the opposite. And that's why I'm a director, not an actor.
Right.
Like I know when I see it, and they have it for sure. Oh, and then in terms of building out the family, that was also mostly through my casting director, Jasmine, but there were a few that I have worked with before. Isabella, who plays the teenager, and then and Manny, who I worked with on Preggers.
Oh,
and
nice.
So, and they play like an uncle and a cousin, and oh my gosh, they just kind of bring that like real life like family dynamics where it's like you can hit your cousin on the head and it's not considered abuse, that kind of stuff. And then Tae-hee Kim, who plays one of the aunties, she has a pretty intense moment in the film where she's required to vote, even though she's a significant other. She's not of the same culture. I had edited a film she was in prior. And I think it's playing in our block. Yeah.
Which one is that?
Is it the Korean?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So
that
I
is
edited her
block.
in that first before, I believe, before I shot the boat. So I scouted her with my editing job.
Nice.
and I asked her to send in a tape, and we did the whole process, and she was it. She's amazing.
Yeah, she's great.
And she's also in Seaweed Snacks.
She is. I got to work with her after. She sent me a lovely message after we wrapped that. It's really nice.
She's awesome. Yeah, she's wonderful to work with. Everybody, it was a wonderful experience working with all the actors and the kids too. And that's like, I think everyone was like, oh, kids and dogs, like don't put them in your films. But yeah, they were great. And I knew, because that was a debate from the beginning in the development process, but I knew it was important to me to have the kids there.
Yeah.
It just makes it feel more real to me.
It does.
And
yeah.
In my experience.
Same.
Yeah. Good. I'm glad.
Because this was, a somewhat personal project and it is so emotional, I think relatable. I think a lot of families, as hard as it is, have gone through situations and discussions like this. What was kind of your big takeaway after completing this project? Did it evolve you at all as a filmmaker or an artist?
I really felt like, sometimes films really tell you what they're wanting to be. And I don't particularly think any of my work prior to the vote has been as, I guess as for lack of a better word, slow in pacing. And so I knew that would be a challenge for me. It's like, okay, what's the balance here where I need to keep it moving? It's a short film, I want to make sure the audience is along for the ride, but give the family and my leads the space to really go through the emotional journey that grief is. And so that was, I feel like, a moment of growth for me in terms of a filmmaker. I was able to really cut my teeth into really finding the emotion and really finding the pacing with my editor, Patrick Lawrence, and making sure that we're not cutting corners in terms of, for time's sake, people's emotions.
Right.
And to really understand that, like, I want the audience to be right there with them and to go through this journey with them. And I mean, this sounds pretty like simple, but I'm like, if I can make the audience cry, if I can make grown men cry or at least feel something, then I've done my job.
Right. You made this grown man cry, Sylvia, I'll tell you.
That's my goal in life, let me tell you. Yeah, that was, and it has been nice to hear from folk after screening with them, their experiences and how authentic it feels to them when they were watching it and how relatable it is to them. And so that for me is always like very nice to hear. And then also, in terms of what I want my audience to be taken, like what I want them to take away is that, grief isn't the same for everybody. Everyone does it differently. There was really no right or wrong answer to this. Like, should we take her off of life support or not?
Right.
It's a hard answer, or it's a hard decision either way. Yeah. We all do it together.
Right.
We all grieve together, even though it looks differently. That, and if I had any social impact in any way for families to, who have elderly parents or who have parents, that maybe don't have a living will, like, get that together, because
for sure.
Yeah, because it makes these decisions a lot more digestible. It's not
Right.
easy, but at least there's a game plan that you could follow during a hard time. So those are my big, like, what I want my audience to be taken away with. Yeah, and for me, I'm like glad I made it. Hope that I become a better filmmaker in the process, and then moving on to the next one.
On to the next.
Yeah.
Well, you did an incredible job. It's a really beautiful, beautiful film. Once again, our audience can see The Vote screening Sunday, August 24th. LADFF.com is a place to get your tickets. But right now, we're going to switch gears a little bit, Sylvia. It's time for our Gimme Three segment. Right now, Sylvia is going to hook us up with 3 film recommendations, movies that have inspired her work, inspired her. Sylvia, what you got for us?
Tell me why I got nervous all of a sudden.
Well, this is what it's all about, baby. This is the Gimme Three podcast.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So I'm gonna lean into The Vote, like what inspired me and what I used in terms of like studying family dynamics and all of that.
Great.
And drama. So yeah, I would go first with August Osage County.
Oh yeah.
With Meryl Streep, Julia Roberts. That cast is stacked.
Uh-huh.
And the drama is high, and and the acting is on. I mean, I love it for the performances.
Yeah.
Hands down.
Yeah.
And then it also involves a family death and family coming together and family who is like weird.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. And then the next one, for something that inspired me for The Vote in particular, was the Skeleton Twins.
I don't think I've seen that.
It's Kristen Wiig and Barry.
Bill Hader.
Yes, Bill Hader. Freaking love that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's about siblings who struggle with depression and anxiety, I believe. And it's a dark comedy. And it's, performance-wise, to see these comedians get to really, really deep places in their sadness is really interesting to watch. Performance heavy. So yeah, with The Vote, I was like, where performance heavy films that I can study, like what the camera does and what the direction is,
Right.
So those are 2 that inspired or helped me visualize how I would achieve and tackle The Vote. And then I'm just going to throw in one of my 5 films that I watch every year, and that's probably going to be Clueless. I think it's Clueless season, it seems to be.
It is Clueless season. It's popping up everywhere.
Yeah. This time of year, every year should be Clueless season. It's so witty. It's like wicked smart.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. And while it's just, I don't know, costume, actors, it's just very, very fun to watch. And that's it. Just like super, that's a fun wild card for you there.
There's like a joke every 15 seconds in that movie, and like 95% of them hit and still hold up.
Yeah. It's iconic.
Yeah.
It's iconic. I would only dream to make something half as good and that people would love and watch every year.
It is a bona fide classic now.
Yeah, it is.
Well, those are 3 excellent choices, Sylvia. I'm going to have to check out this Skeleton Twins one. Sounds good.
Yeah, it's definitely worth a watch for sure. Oh, and there's like a music breakdown in the middle. Like,
oh, really?
Just for that alone, you should watch it.
Hell yeah, I should. All right. Well, Sylvia, I want to thank you for doing this. I want to thank you for sharing the film with our film festival. It's really, it's cool to have watched you. You've been submitting and been in our film festival multiple times, but it's fun to watch your growth as a director and as a storyteller. It's really, it's makes what we do feel really special and exciting.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that's the goal, is just to keep growing, and to hear that people are seeing that is really nice. It means hopefully I've made some strides.
Certainly.
Yeah, I'm very excited to be at LADFF again, and I'll be there. Excited to screen with everyone, with all the Altadena folk, and yeah, hope to see you guys there too.
What an amazing story. An amazing woman. And speaking of amazing women, what a segue into our segment from Gimme Three producer, LADFF director, and my wife, Sonja Mereu, for a segment that we call Sonja's Movie Minute. So stick around for that and much more right here on the Gimme Three podcast.
Hello, I'm Sonja, and this is my Movie Minute. Now that we're less than a week away from LADFF, I'm getting really excited. Since Dick has spent the last few weeks talking about this year's films, I'll give you 3 more. Our first block, Underneath It All, closes with a music video for a song called Grandpa's Got a Brand New Pill. This video just brings a smile to my face and a shake to my booty. Between this video and Thelma, elderly people are having a moment. Maybe 70 is the new 20. The film Rehearsal in Block 2, Racked Focus, is about a high school teacher and her students who are questioned about their weekly ritual of acting out a school shooting. Cinematically, it's quite simple, but the questions it poses are anything but. I found it riveting. Block 5, Out of the Blue, opens with the short film Vivir, about an artist who is about to commit suicide when a vampire intervenes. I'm a sucker for vampires, especially sexy goth punk vampires who love art and believe in paying artists for their work. It's a strong way to open a very strong block of films. And I have to give you one more. Eleanor in the Room, from Block 6, Los Angeles. This block is dedicated to celebrating the work of filmmakers who lost their homes in the Eaton Canyon fire in Altadena. One of the most bittersweet aspects of this block is how many of the films were shot in Altadena, in homes that no longer exist. Eleanor in the Room was shot in a gorgeous Altadena home, and it explores a woman grappling with a recent miscarriage. It's a beautifully shot and acted film, and the ending twist really surprised me. See you this weekend at LADFF.
Driftin On A Memory is screening with LADFF on Saturday, August 23rd at the Laemmle NoHo 7. It is a part of our Out of the Blue block. Tickets are available right now at ladff.com. Today we are joined by the film's writer and director, Angel Ruvalcaba Jr. Angel, thanks for being
here. Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Before we get into the film, I want to talk a little bit about you. Raised in Sylmar, you moved to Arizona. Talk to us about growing up and how you got introduced to filmmaking.
Yeah. So my parents lived in, my dad was from Sylmar. My mom was from Pacoima. And while they were always together when I was younger, they had their family homes, and we kind of jumped between the two homes.
Right.
So I would stay at my mom's house in Pacoima, and then I would stay at my dad's house in Sylmar. And it was a big Mexican family. And so frankly, my mom and my dad had 3 kids. And so a lot of us ended up living in the garage, because my grandparents would have the houses and they would just split it up between everybody. And there was a lot of people in one home. And so we lived in both sets of garages. It was a different time, different lifestyle. But, I never knew any different. Home was home. If I needed to go get a drink, I had to walk outside, go inside to go kind of the kitchen. But I did that up until I was about 10 years old. I was in like 4th grade when my mom, really it was my grandpa, he found a home in Arizona that was more affordable than what we were doing here in California. And so we moved to Arizona. And I just remember when we first moved, the streets were so much different because, like, you know the valley, it's like super congested, super cramped. And
right.
I don't know if you've ever been to Arizona.
I have. I've never been to Mesa, but I've been to Tucson and Phoenix and even way outskirts. I've been to like Benson, which is where I met my wife, actually.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, Mesa is very, it's like Edward Scissorhands, very just like super, every house looks the same. The streets are super wide, very boring. It's so super different for me. But we moved with my grandparents, and again, big family on my mom's side. And my dad ended up staying here for a little bit, but then he came to join us afterwards. And so we were able to get a home on our own. And my life kind of changed from there. I was able to have more of a suburban life for the rest of my life, which was really, really great. Well, it's funny that I didn't have my own room for a long time until then, though, because we still cramped too many people into this new house, and I shared I shared with my two brothers a bunk bed until too old. I won't say how old, but it was good. And I was really grateful for this new life we had in Arizona. And but I never really forgot about California. And my dad's side of my family still lived out here, so I would still come out and visit. I grew up on a lot of movies that took place in California, so it was always it had a big place in my heart. So I always knew that I wanted to come back.
Amazing. And what got you into filmmaking?
My parents did a lot of different things a lot of the time, and I was bored a lot, and I would watch TV and I would watch movies. We had VHSs. My favorites back in the day were movies like Toy Story, Space Jam, Casper, Jurassic Park, very 90s. I watched a lot of VHSs as a kid, and I would just watch them all day, religiously. And as I grew up, I learned that I liked storytelling. So more specifically, around 4th to 6th grade, I really started getting into comic books. One of my teachers gave me some comic books of Spider-Man, and I really loved it. I loved the art, but I also loved the stories. I remember specifically there was a Spider-Man story about, the character Venom.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. So the symbiote, the thing that Venom wears, was keeping Eddie Brock alive from his cancer. If he didn't have it, he would die. And I remember vividly, I would ask my dad, because I read the comic, and I asked my dad, I was like, Dad, what is Spider-Man supposed to do? If he takes this from the guy, he will die. But if he keeps them with it, he's a danger to people. And I never, that's when I really started thinking about, stories can be very nuanced, and you can have complicated perspectives, and it really kind of opened my eyes to things. That was always an interesting story to me. But then as I grew up, I kept, wanting to study art and creating stories. I went to community college for digital illustration, and I love to draw, and I still do art, but it was hard, and there was a lot of better people, frankly. So I went to Arizona State University, and I realized that what I loved doing was telling stories through that art. And so I focused my kind of direction into filmmaking, and the rest is history.
That's awesome, man. And then let's dive into your film here, Driftin On A Memory. Tell the audience about this short film. What's it about?
Yeah, so Driftin On A Memory is a short film about 3 Mexican-American brothers that disagree on what to do with their father as he struggles with his mental health, his addiction, and the oldest in particular really struggles with his sense of power in the family. And when he finally starts to listen to his siblings, he gets that connection that he wants with not only his father, but his brothers. And it's really just a story of listening to each other and having patience for each other.
And it's really, really well done and beautifully made. Talk to us just a little bit about A, what inspired the story, and B, your own personal writing process.
Yeah, and so when I first came up with this project, it was really hard to talk about with other people because I won't beat around the bush. It's inspired by my real life story. It was a real event that happened in Arizona, 2000. I want to say 18. It would have been 19, maybe 18 or 19. My brothers and I were in different spaces in our lives, and we all got a call that our dad was waiting for us at a bus stop. The youngest was there first, and me and my other brother went to go see. And, it was the first time that we had seen each other in a minute. And there was this disconnect initially of not that we haven't spoken, but we felt disconnected from each other's lives. And And here our dad was in a really bad place. And it was something that all of us had really struggled with for a lot of our life, of just like, how do we help him? What do we do with him? And he always loved us. And so it was kind of a curse and a burden that he kind of always came back, because he cared too much about us that he could never leave. And
right.
I don't take that for granted. I appreciate that, but it was hard. But it was the youngest brother's, patience and just being there for his father that really kind of started him opening him up. And, my middle brother really just changing the way that we spoke with each other. And then I kind of saw in that night the dynamics start to open up, and it felt like when we were younger again, and the only thing that would really bring us together was being with our father. And when we were younger, like I said, when we moved to Arizona, he came out afterwards, and he got a lot of good jobs, but then unfortunately, he would start using, and then he would lose those jobs, and we wouldn't see him in a moment, a couple weeks, and then we'd hear from him again. It was an on and off kind of relationship. But those first couple weeks when he would start working, he would always prioritize taking us to the movies, taking us to lunch, me and my brothers were his priority. And so we'll never not have those memories that kind of make that strength, that bond so strong. And so,
that's beautiful.
Yeah. And so, and so that event happens. And a couple of years after, he got worse, and a couple of months before it ended up happening, he called me, and he was in rehab, and he was doing really good, honestly. He was recovering, and his life was changing. And I remember him telling me, he's like, Mijo, I think I might have ADHD or this and that. The doctors were really telling me stuff that I'd never heard before. And it was encouraging. And my life was about to change too. I was about to get married. And wild enough, I was already in Arizona, California at this time. We were back in Arizona, and we were staying at my grandma's. And my mom bangs on the door first thing in the morning, and we open the door. She opens the door, and she's like, "It's your dad. He's dying." And what had happened is he was on the streets, and he was having an attack, of his body. And they took him into the hospital, and he was, and me and my mom, and my brothers, and his family even came out, and I had to make a tough call for his life. But I saw kind of where he was at, and it was my choice, and it's a tough decision. But in the end, he had to be in peace. And so I say all this to say that he passed away, and it really took a toll on me and my brothers. But I remembered that I always had this story. And so I wanted to kind of gift this story not only to the world, but to my brothers. And so I started writing. It was originally a feature, and I still have it as a feature, and it's something that I keep dear to myself. But someone's like, if you want to make this now, you've got to structure it in a short film. So I kind of took the climax of that feature, and I put it into this short film. And I had a lot of help from amazing people. I went back to San Fernando to Sylmar to sit there and just write, and it really did help me, because I was back in California by this time, and it was good to kind of be in those spaces that he was at. And and so I wrote it. I got some amazing talent, and we screened the film in a private cast and crew screening. And my brothers hadn't seen it up until this point, and I was seated between them, and I got exactly the reaction I wanted.
Wow, this is why we do it, man. This is what art is for, to tell our stories and to connect, and like you said, it's a personal story for you, but I find that the more personal stories we tell, sometimes the more universal they feel. And, this is a story I think there's a lot I can relate to in this story, and I think a lot of other of our viewers will be able to relate to as well. So.
Yeah, thank you. Every time we show it, I find someone relates to it in a different way. There's a lot of themes that we play with here, and whether it's just helping those that are sick, or struggling to connect with your siblings, someone finds something to connect with, and I always appreciate that.
I'm curious to hear about your approach, because correct me if I'm wrong, you're like a VFX supervisor. Is your day
that
job,
was
right?
Back in the day. I did some VFX for a lot of short films, and
Cool.
I used to help out a lot with that. But nowadays, I work full time at Disney Animation as a production coordinator. So very much
cool.
like a management position.
Right.
And I have been doing this. That's what brought me back to California about 5 years ago. And so I've been doing that ever since. And this kind of came from a place, like I mentioned, of just pure passion, really wanting to make it. And so I found the right person, a producer friend of mine, who was like, you have to tell this story, like whatever it takes. And we got together the funds just on raising them. And it wasn't easy. I had to definitely do some, negotiating with people and really reaching my the limits of who I could ask. But we got the funds, and we got the location. We filmed this in Palmdale. It was not easy, and I did this during the weekends of my job, during the after hours of my job. I worked my full-time job, and then I just did this when I could. And now I'm glad that I did, because it's really kind of restructured the way I think about things. Of like, I love my job at the Mouse, and it's a really good job. It's going to keep paying for my bills. I'm going to keep getting my name on these amazing movies. But I'm also, it's helping me fund, and it's helping me have the space and the time to tell the stories that I want to tell outside of work.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really amazing. Yeah, I was going to ask if like the VFX world or the animation world at all kind of like changed or informed your creative process, because this is obviously not a VFX heavy movie. It's very intimate. It's very grounded. Sure. Does your work in the animation world like help or inform your directing style in your narratives?
Absolutely. In ways that I didn't really anticipate. I spent a lot of time at Disney watching directors direct. That was my job, of like taking notes, being in rooms with directors. And it's like they say, when you study something, when you watch it enough, you get better at it. And so I would see how these directors, who had been Disney veteran directors for years, would do things, would approach, asking an artist or even asking like an actor how to do something. And I would apply that approach to what I was doing. And so it definitely influenced the way I made this film. And even to the degree of, I'm a very hands-on person. So when we were making this, my job is spreadsheets. But when I made Driftin', I was in charge of a lot of the spreadsheets. I was very, frankly, micromanaging with a lot of things. And so that's just the way it helped me structure the show for me.
And I assume, just by watching it, like everything was, like you said, you did it on the weekends, you did it when you got off of work. Night shoots. Talk to us about night shoots, because for our audience who doesn't know, a lot of delirium can happen in overnight shoots.
and do we have oh my gosh, we have stories from this shoot. It was 2 nights in Palmdale, May 4th and May 5th of 2023. And it was funny. One of the actors, I was like, awesome. I'll go back to all the stories, but I remember we were wrapping up the first night, and I told everyone, I was like, awesome, you guys, this is great. Or no, we were halfway through the first night, and he leans over to the other actor. He's like, hey, I don't know if we're going to finish the whole movie by tonight. And he's like, dude, we have to come back tomorrow night. There's a whole other night. Like, he misread it because it was midnight to midnight kind of thing. Or overnight. And right. He's like, oh no. We ended up getting an Airbnb for people because it was in Palmdale and we were overnight, so we didn't want people to drive home.
Right.
And then it was freezing. The first night, it was beyond cold. I think it was like 40, 50 degrees.
Oh, shit.
Between every take, like the second night we were proactive. Me and my wife were staying at my grandma's, who lives in Palmdale, and grabbed a bunch of blankets. And brought all the blankets on set. And so the very next day, every time the actors weren't in front of the camera, we would cuddle them with blankets. And there's a couple shots you can see in the movie where the wind is blowing in their faces, and they're trying their hardest not to freeze. But that happened, and then we had to deal with it was a public location, and so we had to deal with people. So we would shoot between things, like the buses, literally. I think you only see one bus in the film, but it was really hard the first couple hours of every night, we would get in like maybe a shot or two per hour, just because the buses would come so frequently. And we really wanted to be intentional with the time of day. Like, we really wanted it to feel like it was overnight, like it was like 2 a.m. kind of thing, so that There wasn't anyone else around. And I think it comes through in the film.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. But, you know, when we were shooting at like 8 p.m. or 9 p.m., we couldn't do that with the buses or with people. And so that was a challenge. And then we lost access to the bathrooms the second night.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it was bad. There was like a public, it was a transportation center. So they had like a public little area, but they didn't give us the keys. And so we would do like car drives to my grandma's house. It was down the street to like, all right, who needs to go to the bathroom? Go. That was wild. And then that same transportation center, I think not one of our crew members, but someone else tried opening the door, and beep, beep, super loud alarm. All like you could hear it all across the street. And we were like, God damn it. So what we ended up doing during that time is we shot the montage with the song, because
Oh, there you go.
exactly. We were trying to be like, okay, well, we can't do this, so what are we going to do? And then it rained. So you can kind of tell in the super wides that it's raining because there's water on the floor. And we leaned into that. We were like, oh, you know, it looks like a street sweeper or something like that. And it was reflective, so like it's the poster, like it looks really nice. So we kept it. But we were just about to shoot the car scene, and we were just like, God damn it, how are we going to do this car scene with the rain? Because it wouldn't add up continuity-wise. Like, if it stopped raining for any reason, those shots are wasted. Or if it kept raining, everything beforehand was just, like, rain is just the worst when you're shooting a movie, especially if you can't predict it. It was not fun. So my DP, he was awesome. He's like, let's wait it out. And we lost hours. And you never want to lose hours when you're shooting on a film. Every hour is precious. You're paying every person for every minute they're there. And so we literally were just sitting around trying to prepare for the shot. But there's a couple shots in the beginning of the car scene. You can see the rain peeking through. But for the most part, it's pretty, you can't tell. It was wild.
Just some of the adventures for our listeners that go into independent filmmaking, or any kind of filmmaking for that matter.
You'll never be able to prepare for everything. Something will happen.
Yep, that's what I always tell filmmakers who ask me questions. It's like, prepare everything you can, and then just be ready to pivot or to be able to be nimble, because it's not if something's gonna go wrong, it's when is something going to go wrong, and
exactly.
you just got to be able to answer the call.
Yep. Yeah. And it's crazy though, because sometimes it doesn't work in your favor, but then sometimes it does. So the second night was our last shot. Obviously, two overnights, like pretty much 10-hour shifts, maybe a little less. We were exhausted. But this was our last shot, and it is the last shot of the movie. So, spoilers for anyone who hasn't watched the film, but you will when you watch it at the festival. The last shot of the film is the oldest brother. He's finally said goodbye to the father, and he's walking away from the bus stop and walking towards his brothers. The way I always described it is he has to turn away from the past and look forward into the future, and see what's ahead of him, because he spent so much time looking in the past and kind of staying there. Well, what we didn't predict when we were shooting it, again, this was like 6 a.m. already, the lights on that bus stop turned off by itself. and I shit you not, the one on the left and the one on the right stayed on. It was only that specific bus stop that turned off. We were freaking out behind the camera, but we kept rolling. And that's the one that ended up in the film.
Wow, there you go. So, yeah, see, sometimes happy accidents.
Happy accidents. So we were saying it was a supernatural, but someone who was helping us out, and we really appreciate it, because I think it really, again, we didn't plan for that, but God, it's crazy, it's spooky, especially if you know it now.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's an incredible film, Angel. I want to thank you for sharing it with the fest. Driftin On A Memory, once again, my friends, you can see it Saturday, August 23rd at the Laemmle NoHo 7 as a part of our Out of the Blue block. Tickets are available right now at LADFF.com. But right now, we're going to switch gears a little bit, and we're going to do our Gimme Three segment. Yes. Angel, you ready for this?
I sure am.
All right, let's get your first pick.
So my first pick is a film called Iron Claw. Came out a couple years ago. I don't know if you watched it.
I did, yes.
Yeah, it's a beautiful film starring Zac Efron. It's a biopic, and it's about these brothers that are wrestlers, And what I really resonated with is the way it represents brothers, and just kind of there's this you're a brother regardless kind of thing. Like no matter where you are in life or how far you drift apart from each other, you always have your brothers. And I really thought that was beautiful. And it's just a great way to portray brothers. And if you have even siblings, if you have siblings, I definitely recommend you watch Ironclad. It's a beautiful film, wonderfully acted, and definitely super inspirational in the way that I portrayed the brothers in this film.
Bring a tissue box.
Yeah, bring a tissue box. Bring several tissue boxes. Holy cow, that was a hard one. But I that's most of my films here, so be prepared.
Yeah, you know what's funny about the Iron Claw is, so I am a big wrestling fan. I knew about this family prior to watching the film, and I'm watching the film, and I'm like, man, you know what's a bummer is they actually had to a bummer for the family is they actually had to remove some of the tragedy that happened to this family, because it was just like even more tragic things happened to this poor family that they had to like take out of the film because it would be like too unbelievable.
Too much. Yeah, I heard, and I was like, oh my gosh, they probably like the family. That's intense, just back to back to back. I think it might have just been too much for audiences, and I don't blame them. That would have been rough.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure.
Wild.
All right, let's get your second pick.
My second pick is a film called Beautiful Boy. It's starring Steve Carell and Timothée Chalamet.
Yeah, I remember this coming out, but I did not see it.
Sure. And so I remember watching it, and it came out like 2017, 2018, something like that. And it was very topical at the time for me because it shows someone struggling with addiction. And it was really, really heavy stuff. And then Steve Carell is this father, and he cares so much about his son that he tries to do everything to help him. And, it's this downward spiral of the son, and it's bleak, but, he doesn't quit for his son, and he tries everything. And even the ending of the film isn't the most optimistic thing in the world, but that's sometimes how life is. And, as I've been writing the feature version of this film, I kind of have an ending that's like that too, where it's just, you won't solve everything, but you can come to peace with yourself, because that's all you really can do.
Right.
You can't dictate other people's lives. Like as soon as you start doing that, you're not being true to themselves, to you or to them, and it's you're removing power from someone else, and that's not right. You have to just come to terms with yourself that you can't fix other people, and so it's not your job to. And it's something I had to learn a lot too, and so that was a very powerful film for me.
Nice. I'm gonna have to check it out. Beautiful Boy, it's called, correct?
Beautiful Boy. It's on Prime. I think it was one of the first Prime films that they started doing.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Your third and final pick.
My third and final pick is a film called Amores Perros.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. And so I loved that film. And I remember I watched it in college, and it really helped me understand the idea of multiple threads / narratives coming together in one place, which is this in the film is this car crash. And it starts with the car crash, and it then expounds on each person's life and kind of shows their interesting perspectives and their conflicts going on just between them, and how this singular event really changes their life. And I really used that kind of narrative structure in this film of like everyone is coming from a different place, and I throw in just hints and pieces because it's a short film. You can't do like too much, but I try and infer there's a lot of things going on in these people's lives, and there's different things going on in their lives, but here they are now and how they're going to change after this event. But I really recommend checking out that film. It's a beautiful film, amazing acting, and wonderful direction.
If our listeners, that sounds interesting to you, y'all should check out an episode Bella and I did, Gimme Three. We talked about the Three Amigos, and we did Del Toro, Coron, and Iñárritu, and our Iñárritu film was Amores Perros. So check out that episode.
All amazing amazing filmmakers.
As are you, my friend. I want to thank you again so much for doing the show and for making your film and sharing it with our audience. We're really honored to be screening it.
All right, and I really appreciate it, and I'm really excited to see all the other films. It looks like a really good variety of films. I made a pretty heavy drama. I'm not going to beat around the bush, and it's a bit of it's a sad film, but there's a lot of heart in it, and there's some great moments. But what I love seeing, especially in these film festivals, is it's surrounded by different types of films, because that's what I love. I love all kinds of films, and even the next film I'm going to work on is a complete tonal shift, and so. I think a great filmmaker can watch and make different types of movies. So make sure you check out all the films next weekend.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Angel. We appreciate you.
Thank you, Nicholas. Really appreciate it.
I want to thank both Sylvia and Angel for joining me on today's show. Next week, my esteemed co-host Bella F. Stratus returns to the podcast. This week, Bella and I will both be at the Los Angeles Diversity Film Festival, so come on over, say what's up, we'll chat some movies, and we'll watch some great movies. You can follow the film festival on Instagram at LA Diversity Film Fest. Again, visit LADFF.com for tickets, screening dates, screening times, trailers. You can sign up for our mailing list as well. And if you dig the podcast, if you dig the Gimme Three podcast, there are a few ways to support us. In fact, I'm going to give you 3 ways to support us. Number 1, the easiest way is to set our episodes to automatically download. You just download all our episodes, boom, you have them at your disposal, even when you're not connected to Wi-Fi, and it really helps us out. Number 2, we do have a Patreon. For a mere $5 a month, you can support our show, and it really helps us keep the mics on. There's some bonus content on there as well for y'all. And number 3, you can just post about us. Tell your friends about us. Tell your social media followers about us. And just spread the word. Spread the good word about the Gimme Three podcast. And we want to thank you for listening to the Gimme Three podcast. We will see you at the movies, and we will see you at LADFF this weekend.